Second Tuesday Leaders League, and we'll get back on schedule on our first Tuesdays here beginning in October. And I do want to thank everybody for coming. Last month I did it, and we've been doing this Leaders League now for at least 3, maybe 4 years, and it's a lot different when you're on this side of the microphone, you're giving the presentation, and I was talking with Jason and some of these other guys about how quickly the time goes by. Because I had a lot more to say, and then it was like, oh my gosh, we're already 45 minutes here, and so anyway, I have a newfound respect for what the speakers have to go through. I do want to thank you for coming here. It's great to see some very familiar faces, and it's great to see some newer faces. And I do want to thank Eldon and Josh with All in the Window Company for their sponsorship today. And have been very stalwart supporters for the Leaders League. I want to thank them very much for their generosity and for supporting this. One of the main reasons that we do this is that, we, at one time in our lives, were all much younger. And one of the things that, of course, is the focal point upon our ministry is making sure that the Word of God is brought to children, right? And the world is absolutely going full tilt against our kids. And if anybody thinks otherwise, all you got to do is look at social media and all the things that are happening, looking at the news, seeing what's happening there. That's why it's so important for us to bring the gospel of Jesus Christ to elementary age kids. Whether we're doing it in the elementary school setting, or we're doing it at a 5-day club in somebody's backyard, at a party club, at a school, church, park, wherever that happens to be, or at the fairs. We had an amazing state fair. We reached over 830 kids, and I think was it 17 professions of faith here. And Jonathan, he might share just briefly about one of them that really kind of stood out. And it's wonderful to see. It's nice to hear that people are encouraged by what we're doing. So Leaders League, of course, is to kind of show what happens when a person has a Christ-centered life, and then how that relationship with Jesus Christ has had an impact upon them personally, professionally, and in their family life as well. And it's really great to hear how when people came to Christ, and for instance, I grew up in a Christian household, but I didn't accept Christ until I was in my mid-30s. And so I was kind of a late bloomer, but to be able to hear how people's lives have been directed and changed because of that personal relationship. And for those of you that know that, I like a lot of different jokes around Reagan and so forth. And we hadn't told this one for a while, so I don't know if you remember or not, but there was a salesman. He was in the back country and he was driving. And you could kind of see a dust cloud in his rear view mirror, and all of a sudden just just goes on by. And he's like, what in the heck was that? So he presses down on the accelerator and he catches on up to it, and it's a chicken. And this chicken's going around 30, 40 miles an hour. The chicken looks at him and just kind of hits the accelerator and goes right up the hill and takes a turn and goes down the lane. He goes, I gotta follow this chicken, what the heck? So he follows on down the lane, and he pulls up to the farmer who's just coming out of the barn and says, did you see that chicken? He goes, yeah, sure did. I said, that's amazing, that's the fastest chicken I ever seen. And it says, yep, we raise them. It says, my mom and my son and I said, we love chicken legs. And it says, so we made a 3-legged chicken. He goes, a 3-legged chicken? That's phenomenal. It says, how do they taste? Don't know, I ain't caught one yet. Anyway. So at this time here, I think I would like to bring up Jonathan here, and he's going to go ahead and get us started off. And like I said, I do wish to thank everybody for coming today. And Jonathan.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you again for being here. I'm going to introduce our speaker as we get started here. Todd Watson, just met him briefly on a couple different occasions. I remember him because of that. He probably didn't remember me until first we met again. And so we're privileged to have him come and share. So a lot of you know him a lot better. Worked alongside of him, very active in the political world, but also in the business. But his first leadership responsibility was, as he says, is to his family. His wife, Kelly, of 22 years, and their 5 children. And so taking that responsibility seriously, as any husband should. And so I was appreciative of seeing that. But also, serving with several different companies, employing over 100 different employees throughout Nebraska. And I'm sure he'll share more of that along the journey. But as I said already, also active in the political field, wanting to see conservative biblical values placed in the forefront, so that it affects us all, not only the children in our schools and in our families, but all of us as Nebraskans and beyond. And so we're just really privileged, looking forward to him sharing some leadership things that God has instilled in his life, his relationship that he has with the Lord and with his family. And so without further ado, help me welcome Todd Watson this morning.
All right, hello friends. Know most of you, some of you are new, but a lot of you are friendly faces, so great to be with you guys again. They told me I'd speak about 25 minutes, so we'll cram a lot in there. So people want to know my history and my faith history a little bit, so I'll share that with you first. Born and raised here in Lincoln, grew up here, went to local church, wasn't really grown, came to the Lord probably through customary. I mean, it was genuine. I was afraid of God. I remember being 7 and being scared of hell and what could happen, and so I accepted Christ, and more out of fear as a young kid. And so pretty kind of normal routine conversion, 7. So go along, nothing's really happening, and my dad, some of you know my dad, John. My dad was raised, my mom was Baptist, my dad was Catholic growing up, and so imagine that get together and those family dynamics pulling together. So you kind of start in these different churches, and they're still trying to find their groove. And we go to this new church called Lincoln Berean, which was really small back then. Had the orange chairs, and that was the only sanctuary. And this guy named Kurt Lehman was there. And Kurt Lehman starts preaching, and, after church, my dad's like, well, what do you guys think of it? I don't know why I like that. I just really like that church, Dad. I think we need to go back there. And so we start going to Berean. This is when faith really starts growing for me as a kid, and conscience. And remember it clear as day. I mean, God and I are talking real time. Anytime Kurt's talking, it was phenomenal. And I'd listen to Kurt, but we'd just talk. We'd have a conversation all the time. And so faith was growing really fast with Kurt Lehman. And there was Awana, so some of you know Paul Lux and that family, Lehmans. Remember playing basketball? Yes, I did play basketball, and that was really a good experience. So Berean was a phenomenal church to grow through junior high and high school, and that's when the Lord was really cultivated. So Kurt Lehman was phenomenal. Not a unnormal experience. Went off to college, went to Texas Christian University. Go ahead.
Did you go to schools here in Lincoln?
Yeah, I went to Rousseau, Irving, and Southeast. Yeah, I was a Rousseau kid. So yeah, my mom was a school teacher here in town, and my dad was in real estate. So it's small world. Our families have worked together for years. We did the apartments. They fixed windows. It was a great partnership. And they're sponsoring here. I'm speaking here. So, our families had a long history together. But yeah, I went to school in Texas. I played soccer, was invited to walk on. I was in love with the game at the time. And it was really God's way for me to meet my wife down there. So I went down to Texas Christian. From there, I knew pretty early that I had a calling in the political world. Went out to D.C., was really sold out Republican. I had all the elephants in the room, the whole 9 yards. I watched Rush at a young age and all this stuff. Went down, but I was total establishment. I grew up total, like in the old guard, in how it worked, and got invited to go to work for Congressman Christensen, if you remember him, up in D.C.
John?
Yeah, so I went out to D.C., worked for Congressman Christensen, great experience. He was falling in love with Miss America at the time, so he was totally checked out. He was in the I fall in love stage, and she could do no wrong, and he was totally obsessed with her, but he was totally checked out of Congress. And so the staff there, we had to do pretty much everything, and he would come in and go, how do I vote? I'm no, right? No, you're yes. Oh, okay, I don't even know, because he was just so in that infatuated love stage, but it forced us as staff to really get involved in running the day-to-day business. But I kind of drifted from God. I didn't really have an active walk at this time. And again, I was in that old established crowd. I'd go out with lobbyists, I'd drink it up, we would get drunk, and we'd go to these parties. Never got into the womenizing thing. God always protected me from that, but it was there. But definitely got into the alcohol, to the power, into the just that whole scene, and didn't really think too much of it. But that was there during the Clinton era. As I had friends at the Kennedy Center, I could tell you a lot of stories of what was happening to them. Anyhow, my dad hated politics, still does. Thinks so. He's kind of come around. He hated sports too. All this is a waste of time. All you need to do is work. You just go to work hard, keep your nose down, raise your family, work. Go make a living, work. Quit wasting your time on football, quit wasting your time on politics, work. This is how I was raised. And so we get out of there, we had some frustrating experiences, and I was like, I should listen to Dad, he's probably right. So I went to graduate business school, University of Texas. That was a great honor. Went through that school and pretty much gave up politics for 15 years and said, this is not what I should be doing with my life. Started businesses, but in grad school I had my Jesus sit me down moment. And Jesus was like, you're mine, okay? I was walking a pretty, I wouldn't say this is a horrible thing, but I just didn't have my priorities right. And I had my party stuff, and I had my social life, and things were going pretty well in the world, but I wasn't God's, right? I was calling my own shots. And God pretty much sits me down, you're mine, you need to get this changed. I was battling a little depression. My wife and I, we were just engaged at that time, but I was in a different town than she was. And so anyways, long story short, we recommit to our faith. And we say, you know what, this has to come first. And then God started bringing different people into my life. And so, again, I grew up in the old, how politics always was, rub shoulders, the money guys, this whole 9 yards. And some great constitutional guys, salt of the earth people that love Jesus. In Texas, they're different than Nebraska. I would say Texas, they talk Texas football. It's great players. It's Vince Young. It's Earl Campbell. We talk offensive lines. We talk 94 teams. We're very communitarian in here. They're very individualistic there. And the individualism, and they really sat down and talked through the history of the country. And they talked through what the Constitution really calls for here. And it was God's journey he put me on to really understand how the game is played, the values on that side of the ledger. They may call themselves Republicans, but we have a lot of Republicans that really don't believe in conservatism. They won't admit it because it's how they get elected, but they really don't believe in it. And really understanding what it really meant and why the Constitution was formed this way. But anyways, God was good to me. Joined a firm, absolutely hated it. It was a prestigious firm, everything you should have behind your title and name. And I'm sitting behind a desk going, this life stinks. I didn't like desk work. So I left on a whim. God said, here, you're good with people. And I joined a staffing firm. I took a complete huge pay cut, went commission only. My wife left her job at the same time. Fortunately, we didn't have kids. But then her old company hired me and bought all this stuff from me, and the commission from that deal replaced her salary and my old salary, and it was total God, right? So got in the staffing world, did pretty well there. Went and started my first company in Phoenix. That was a God journey. Started from scratch, knew nobody, no contacts, no nothing. Dug that business out of the dirt in the telephone book in Phoenix. and that went really well. And we went back to Dallas after my non-compete expired, sold that company, and went to Chicago, where my wife's family is. I got involved in venture capital, the markets. That was the one thing that didn't go well. My dad, if you know him, was having some heart issues. He had a virus that really attacked his heart. So his energy level went way down. Our family business was in managing apartments. And my brother we came back and started a tech company, which is called Rent Vision, if you've heard of that company. Yep. So we kind of pioneer internet marketing for real estate developments around the country. So that's one of our companies. We took over the family business. We've grown that substantially, and then we bought a company together in Omaha in the same management field. I love apartments. Paul made tents too, right? So people get distracted. It's not my all-in. It's not my everything. God is my everything. How we express that is in a lot of different areas. But people think because I've gone this way that I love apartments. But it's just making tents, right? At the end of the day, serving people is making tents. We make windows, I make apartments. I enjoy what I do very much, but I also knew God had higher purposes for what he wanted done. So 2014, a lot of people still call me crazy now. I don't really care what they think. But 13, I felt this calling back into the political world, clear as day. And you need to go speak. And people are like, well, you didn't win, or you didn't have a chance, what were you thinking? And I go, I wasn't called to win. I was called to come back and speak. Because there's problems going on, and there's corrupt leadership going on, and you need to speak truth to power. And it was really hard. I ran against Ben Sass. At that time, Ben Sass was loved by many. He was going to be the savior of a lot of things. And I don't really have a problem with Ben, but I knew clear as day we had problems that needed to be addressed. And that club wasn't going to solve problems. And the advisors around certain people in politics are not good. You may be a good person, but who you surround yourself with isn't. And if you're not strong enough to stand up to your advisors that are preaching bad things, you won't do good. And so we had to speak truth to power. And so I did. I went around the state. I had lost belief in the Republican Party because I didn't think they were really conservative anymore. And in fact, it's still kind of true. I haven't really changed. Republicans like to spend money too. Republicans they won't defund Planned Parenthood. They won't. Some will, some won't. It's kind of the division in the party. So I was an independent, spoke the Constitution around the state, and people signed ballots and put me on to run as an independent. And so it's funny, sometimes we think, this is a friendly circle. Christians can sometimes be your worst opponents. I was called an agent of the devil, called a lot of things, didn't really care, but that was the necessary journey I had to be on to develop strength about taking arrows and being called names and all sorts of stuff. It was just kind of the journey. Went back to business. God was really good to me. So even though that was a miserable experience, you don't get paid, it costs you a lot of money. It was great. I met a ton of people. I had a lot of amazing conversations. We had some witnessing conversations on campus, really around abortion. So God used that whole thing to kind of develop where we were going. But I came back, God blessed me amazingly in business. And 18 came around and ran against Senator Fisher. At this time, I left full-time business. I'm not paid right now. God's been good. I'm able to serve. And I knew God had a calling on my life to serve people. So continued to do that. Obviously, our cities had a lot of rough experiences. So I started a group called Lincoln Wins. In Lincoln Wins, I brought in a lot of the key influencing players in this town to change this town. And that organization blew up, and we had, I think, 600, that translated into 600 people at the Republican convention. And then we took over Lancaster County as a party, really because we need good leaders that are committed to conservative constitutional principles. I'd add in there, Jason Kirsch is over here, and in between there is Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Southeast Chapter Chairman, and then Capital Studies. We had a mutual friend, Perry Gauthier. Perry, I don't think there anything was better in between church-state relationship, theology, government balance, and phenomenal. He asked me to come on the board a month before he died, and long story short, Perry's passed, but Perry and I would sit and meet and debate theology, state relationships, principles. Phenomenal. It's still grounding to how we drive forward today. But when he passed, we went to work. Aaron Hess was brought into Capital Studies. Aaron Hess was he's a GOP leader, but a pastor up in Norfolk. And Aaron's been instrumental down at the Capitol in developing those senators. And we'll get into my Republican dealers, and we'll talk about our successes here in pro-life, but I'm going to tell you, it came down to one vote. And one vote was Mike McDonald, a Democrat. That Democrat's at Bible study at Capital Studies. We have Christians that claim they're conservative Christians that won't go to the Bible study. And you need to know this. There's a lot of fake people that will tickle your ears. If there's anything Christians get duped all the time. Amen. It's just like the garden, okay? Eve tend to get duped. Adam tends to be passive. We have the same problem. It doesn't change. We got a lot of people that get duped by easy speeches, and we have other people that are passive in the face of a fight. And that really hasn't changed. So we move forward to today with the Lancaster County success, which really there's a lot of people there. We got calls from all over the state. How did you do that? What you're changing, you're making a difference. Can you come teach us? Can you come teach that? Meanwhile, the current state party, there was a Hickman race down in the school board. And we wanted to support the challenger. And there was an incumbent there that had brought in pornography into the Hickman schools. And we wanted to get rid of that Republican and replace with a different Republican. But the Republican we wanted to replace was very rich, had contributed a lot to the party, and was influential. The state leadership party said, no, you cannot endorse them. We're going to completely control all endorsements of who is supported and who isn't. And so we couldn't go against a guy that brought in pornography to those kids in that school. This lit my fire. I was furious. But this gave me the moral reason to why this thing this needs changing. This needs changing. So, and local people couldn't have a voice anymore. So in my runs, I was censored everywhere I could go. You weren't allowed to speak. You're not allowed to present. You need to sit down. The censorship was real. This party has embraced tyranny and censorship, just like the Democrats. You think cancel culture is a Democrat thing? It's a two-party thing.
Yep.
You can only hear one side of the story. Done with that. We are going to battle, and the people are with us. So we helped everyone start their things around the state. There was big gatherings presented. But I have fair knowledge of law. I'm a CPA by trade. So we go into the state convention, and we spent 6 hours, everyone fell asleep, fighting on rules and credential reports that mean absolutely nothing to most people. But when you understand the law, you know how this works. Part of what inspired, and Ellie's here, the unicameral failed this year in changing the rules. It was my first thing I advised them to do, and they didn't listen. All respect to Senator Erdman, love you, Joel Hunt. But they didn't change the rules, and that's why we had the disaster of Michaela Kavanaugh and Megan Hunt that abused the rules to their advantage. But anyways, we knew the rules for party structure. We go in there, we change the rules, and leadership changed. I tell you here with a pure heart, Like, we're for the people. It's what we're for. For them to flourish, to have freedom, to have a say in their government. There's a lot of people that will try to tell you we're not or we're something. I'm not being paid right now. I almost did that as a vow to show you this is not about pay, this is not about power. But we have people in both parties obsessed with power, prestige, or money. One of the three. To get people with pure hearts to really work for the people is really hard. It's really hard. But there's a few out there. Just like we talked about, there's problems in the church too. There's a lot of soft churches. We need a revival in the church. We need stronger people coming through in politics. But anyways, this year we went to work. I find people saying this is the biggest disaster in the party's history. They're awful. They're not having money. I go, you know what? Look how much we got done without the money. All credit to glory to God, right?
Yeah.
They went 30 years. You couldn't get any lower taxes. You couldn't get pro-life done. Constitutional carry couldn't get done for 7 years. School choice failed for the last 7 years. So really my job is chief lobbyist. I know the heck out of Ellie and Joel all the time. And I go around and I just talk through what the people voted on. What do they want? And we have passions for kids. We all know these are children that we have got to protect. So the worst day was probably my best day. When we lost the heartbeat vote by 1 vote, and make no mistake, people try to blame us, they try to blame the governor, they try to divide I'm telling you, everyone was there except one guy. Now, there's 8 other senators, I won't name names, they don't think I know, but I know they're not as committed to this platform value. We have a lot of people in the party that really preach. This is how it's worked forever. They know how you'll vote. You love when your values are preached to you. It gets you excited, and you'll vote for them. But it's not their true conviction. The reality is to preach to you what you want to hear, so you vote for them. But the whole job is this is just getting in there so that they can represent their buddies or their interests for either they're motivated by power, prestige, or money, one of the three, or a combo of those three. There's a few in there for the right reasons. And they're growing. My job is to help them grow. Part of it was running elections, and we got the right 33. And so we've had 35 in there in the past. You need 33 to really get something done. We've had 35 in the past. They've had tens of millions of dollars in 33. And I asked, they can't get it done. You're going to hear we're the most evil party in the history. They're not doing it. I asked, what did you guys get done? Here's what we got done. This got passed, period. Scoreboard's right there. You can judge how if you liked it, you liked the style, you didn't like how we played the game, or we're too. I'm not a guy you want to give a hug to, right? I'm not warm and fuzzy, so my delivery isn't good. I'm not inspired. I don't care. If you need to hug your football team, go find a coach. My job is to win games with the right players. So we got the right guys on the field that were able to vote right. And then inspire and play the game, which is a sewer. God sent, the earth by definition, it's a pretty rough place. So I work in the unicameral, which is the ultimate. DC's worse, but it's a rough place to work. But you have to play the game. But we played the game to win, and we won. So it's funny how the donors dried up. It's ordered by key leaders to try to starve us out because it's about them getting power back to do what those interests want to do. And I've been in this game a long time. I'm not stupid. But it's also kind of interesting because I'm like, glory to God. Look what God's did without the money. Why couldn't you get it done? And what does it say about a donor that won't give? If you're really about lower taxes, Second Amendment rights, saving babies, protecting children, we did all that in one session, and now you're stopping to give. So what were you giving for in the past, and why won't you give now? It's my challenge. The problem is the people have to change too. I'm not here to coddle you. I'll deliver tough messages to senators, and I'll deliver tough messages to you. It's my job. Patriots got lazy. They don't give, they don't work, they don't run for office. They look for someone else to do it. They look for someone else to write the check. They look for someone else to walk the doors. They love when other people do the work. They just want to consume information, get disgusted or happy with what they read, and yell. It doesn't do anything. You got to get in the game. If you want a government that works for you, you have to be part of the game, period. You have to work. We need your money. CEF needs your money. We're not there to use it for power, but I don't have enough money to support the army I need. I need more money to get the army I need to do the job we need to get done. It's not going to waste. It's not there on a power trip. It's no ulterior motive, but my people need help, but people need to give so I can help them. And so we're calling for the money from the people if you want your government. I got criticized this year because the lobbyists are like, what's he doing here? What's he doing? This isn't how this goes. One of my own party chairs from a big town said, the lobbyists are upset. Yeah, it's for the first time the people have had a lobbyist to talk about what they want, okay? So this is kind of where the mission we're on. Now, again, we talk about the heartbeat bill. When it failed, people usually, they wouldn't have a vote last year, which that just tells you the courage of where we've been at. You wouldn't have a vote. But we're going to lose. I don't care if we lose. It's a new philosophy, new day. I'm okay losing. But I want to see the votes, and I want to see the courage on the field, and I want to know how you feel, and I want to see it on the board. The people will make the adjustment when they know how you feel. And there's people I'm not selling out that aren't convicted on the issue like I am because they voted right. You vote right, we're good. We're good. But anyways, they didn't have the courage to even have a vote because you're motivated by prestige, perception, whatever. We have a whole generation afraid of the media. I don't even care what they write anymore because I don't trust them. Yeah. The old way is you care what the media says. I don't even care. We're driving forward. We have a vision. We have a plan. They're going to write what they're going to write. Don't let it, they said something bad about me, or I'm not in a good light. Who cares? Who cares? Don't care. Amen. So, anyway, so we've got a vision forward, but that day it was like, get back on the horse. We're going in for the 300. It's hard. I mean, a lot of the pro-life organizations were mad as hops that the heartbeat bill failed. They refused to endorse the new bill. And I was devastated too, because I just knew 1,200 kids will die every year going forward because that bill didn't pass. But there's still 300 kids I can save if we can get back on the horse and get in there. And so through a painful heart, I was like, we're fighting. We're going to get back in there. Ellie's boss had a lot to do with that too. And so we got on the horse. My job was to raise morale and say, come on, let's go. Let's get back in this. Let's get it done. In that simultaneous bill, because we have a passion for kids, was to keep, which Planned Parenthood's all over the sex change industry, if you haven't figured it out. It's their new business line. It's like Coke saying we're going to introduce Sprite and sell it. Planned Parenthood's like, we have abortions and we're introducing sex change and hormone therapy. So I get tired of talking about bravery. Heck, I'm braver than these senators. So when that bill went out, they walked the senators out a private door because it was so hostile in the unicameral. We were getting badgered. We were getting bumped. A lot of people were scared about what was going to happen to them. I had to walk out the front door. But luckily, I believe in Second Amendment rights. We had open carry next to us, and we made it out okay. And I said, William, keep flashing that gun. We're all right. So we got out of there, but it was pretty intimidating. But these are the battles you got to be ready to go for. As we go in 25, it's a little tougher. The game's changed. A lot of the people that came down there, you got two. You got activists that are young, no kids, no life experience, that think they know everything. And they're ready to run because they don't have responsibilities at home. Then you have the crew that's retired. They've done well in life. Their kids are out of the house. They have time to help serve their community. They come down. But they don't want to now because it just looks a mess down there. It's a fight. I go, it is a fight. Man up. Armor of God time. Here we go. If you want this job to come down here for your honorarium, because it's my time, I did good in the community, this ain't the job for you. It's battle time down there right now. And so this is weeding out a lot of people. It is tough, and it is a calling. No one does it for $12,000 a year. It's a big problem. But we don't have diversity down there, not from everyone focuses on race or whatever. I'm talking about diversity of life experience. Like we have either old people or super young people. Me and Mike Hilder's about the only guy with kids trying to raise them real time right now. So, and then we have, so it's just bringing all this life experience down there, but you're needed more than ever to get involved. But as a conservative and a Christian movement, look, we've got to change a whole lot as a party. And as we work, when I go around and speak, it's still awfully mature. It looks awfully the same, and the demographics of the state are changing. But trying to welcome in new people. We're not passing wisdom down. No one's bringing the younger people to these things. Younger people need to be brought in. We're reaching out to new communities. Yes, I love Jesus to no end. But, we have a Vietnamese community here in town we did a reach out to. Don't come to Republican events. But when you really talk, it's like you care about faith, you care about your family, you care about your business and your job. Guess what? You're a conservative. We have a Hispanic population that really isn't connected with the party. What's the Hispanic population? Care about your faith, you work hard, you care about your family, you're welcome here. So this party is, we're trying to change it, but we've got to rejuvenate it, and we've got to adapt. Now, the old group is really not about our values. We're not changing values. All we do is preach values over and over. The Constitution matters. Values matter. You believe in these values. They're all stated to review. I had to fight my own party that was, well, we love Suzanne, not Stan. I go, I don't care. Stan is our guy. We like Stan. You are not going to dog him. You're not going to put him down. We need guys like Stan. We're changing the party to bring in more people. We're not changing our values. We welcome all people with those values, okay? That's where we're going. And so, I love speaking to groups. God's got to be at the center of it all. We know this. God has got to be at the center of it all. So we have to stay on our knees. We have to be humble and pray. But we also have to be ready to fight. I don't know what's happened with every man a warrior, dead nurse back there. Warrior. It's not a bad word. Why has it? Why are we gone soft? You have to be ready to fight. And it's not just the political world. Churches are going soft. Churches need to be challenged. I was on the golf course this weekend. My kids are competitive golfers. This guy had no guts. Big wig. Pioneer Seeds. Pioneer Seeds Corporate is doing the whole LGBTQ thing. Embracing corporate culture. Goes, well, we have shareholder evaluate. I promise you, your shareholders don't care about your social stance.
Yeah.
You grow plants.
Yeah.
Your plants have nothing to do with human sexuality. Does your plant grow enough corn? How much corn does it create? What the heck are you even doing with human sexuality in your business? Wow, but it's my job. I see a bunch of weaklings in corporate America. I go, I'm not asking you to go, oh, hey, we're growing corn with Jesus. You have to say that. But you don't have to say the opposite either. And I've been called a Nazi, Christian, I've called every name in the book. Again, I don't really care anymore. But what I try to teach people is it's not that we're pushing, there has to be a moral truth, right? Marxism and deep state antics are growing. So the way communism happens, and it doesn't matter if it's China, Russia, what have you. Simple formula. Immorality is the first step. If you can demoralize the culture, is the first step to communism. We know this. It's not even debatable. Then you normalize it. Then you create chaos. And this is how this history works. So, and what's the standard then for morals? I said, if Exodus 20 is still pretty relevant to most faiths. So Exodus 20 defines morality. You either accept that or you don't. So understand when I argue the other side, it's the reason you're against the church and state so much is because demoralization advances your big government cause. So we have to push back and we have to define what is morality and stand on Exodus 20 and stand we're going on faith. I'll be making more big moves here as we go along. It's been a lifetime, and it probably has for you. It's a journey of taking bigger faith steps. Many of you have taken those, others of you have not. And it's all been scary because I know it's how God works. When we take these bigger life jumps of faith, they're tests, and we're being sharpened and we're being developed. God's always been there, but you couldn't fake it, right? You didn't know if he's going to be there to catch you. But he always does. Always does. More of those are coming. More of those are coming. So, anyways, I love what you're doing for the kids. That's my biggest satisfaction. As much pain as this year is, as many arrows as we've been taken, as many names I've been called, at people in my own party that hate my guts that don't even really know me. We saved kids this year. I know I'm going to get, it's good and faithful servant. That's what motivates us. That's what motivates us. And it's going to be great. But I encourage you to get involved. Pull out the checkbook. Don't stop making excuses. Pull out the checkbook. Walk it. Work it. God may be calling you. I don't know how many Christians I've talked to. Well, Moses couldn't speak either. Moses couldn't speak either. He was the great leader. Okay? I've always said Caleb and Joshua. That's the theme of my life. I've always said I've lost votes because you lost the vote. You lost, Todd. You're miserable. You lost. And I say, I was in the 2. You were in the 10. You're going to die in the desert. I'm good. I'm good. Because I'm willing to cross the Jordan and fight. And I'm willing to say what's right. And if I lose, so be it. Because this is so temporary. It's so temporary. But I'm going to tell you that desert attracts more of the 10. They love to grumble in the wilderness. Heck, they want to go back to Egypt. I just don't want to fight. Oh, I just want peace and calm. I just want to die in the desert. That's what they want. So they don't engage the political world at all. It's all God's. It blows me away. Be in the 2. Don't worry about the 10. Be the Jeremiah that says, speak truth to power. The rest are going to go to slavery to Babylon. Maybe you'll get your escape card to Egypt. I don't know. Maybe we overcome this and we have the reprieve and we get to live a great life because we're willing to fight it. Maybe we're still sentenced. I don't know. And this place goes to slavery. I just don't think I'm going to go there because we are willing to fight. God knows our hearts and what we're willing to do and what we're willing to put on the line. He knows. He knows. We'll see the promised land. I want you to be in the promised land too. So tell the people in your flocks, tell the people as you go around, let's don't settle for the desert. Let's don't settle for the desert. Amen. Lastly, I want to say, it's great to see my buddy Ed up in, you're a fighter, always have been, ever since Southeast Asia to back here, you're a fighter, and I appreciate what Ed's done. Yep. when I transitioned from the business community, he's like, "Why aren't you here?" It's like, "Well, I'm going to the political world. I'm getting out of the business community a little bit." But we've been praying hard for Ed, and I'm glad to see him up and going. So, anyways, thanks for your support. I spoke long enough. Good to be here. Thank you. Oh, yeah, Larry.
What's going to be the big three issues in 24 at Unicambo?
Some of it I can't talk about, some I can. Some I don't have as windows, so the people, I think there's a lot of people going to attack property taxes. So they're shocked. I know you're a fan of Epic. I am too. I think just because I understand, I have my master's in taxation, so I don't need to be preached. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm a CPA by trade, and I knew how the founding fathers did a tax system. Epic is a mega step in the right direction. That being said, most of the Republican senators don't like it. They've been brainwashed by institutes using bad information. And frankly, when they're deploying fear tactics against this, you know you're probably on the right track. But nonetheless,